be a large group of them. It's going to just be a large group reading again, and then after November 16th, we're going to have another feature on December 7th, and then during the winter season, during the month of January, it's going to be an open mic for whoever wants to come and read, because quite honestly, my January schedule is insane. So that's just going to be whoever wants to show up. I will be here. If you want to be here, you can read. If you don't want to be here, you can be at home because it's January. But I will be here regardless. So with that, I am going to, Tony, we're good? Okay. So with that, I'm going to call up the next person on our list, and it's going to be Caitlin Jones.
Specifically, I love you. I know. Can somebody tell, sorry, before you start, can somebody tell my dog that wasn't my medicine timer? Whose timer was that?
Might have been mine.
Okay, it's John's timer. Sorry.
She's like, no, she's like, I'm trained to do this, Mom. You're supposed to take your meds.
All right, thanks, sorry.
No worries.
John said it's his time.
Anyway, thank you so much, John, for putting this together. Thanks to OIC for having us here. I always enjoy this.
Long may we be in this building.
I agree. So I do want to say that I have copies of my first book over there. They came in brand new full color images on the inside, so if you have an old copy and just want to see the pretty pictures in color for a change, feel free to flip through one. I love the color pictures. I think they're great. But on that note, I'm not going to read anything from it. I'm going all stuff from the new collection that I'm working on formatting currently.
It's like, so don't even think about that over there.
So please go look at it for the pretty pictures, but new stuff. Okay. So planting gladiolus in the cemetery of misconception. Your hand gently brushes against the petals, skimming the surface, acknowledging more than the colorful array of flowers standing tall, defiant. A stark contrast to what was a barren landscape dotted only by the perfectly symmetrical granite landscape. These beauties are planted in the fertile soil of all the lies you believed about yourself, but others forced you to conform. Over the years, you've chipped away parts of your soul that people grafted to you, of who they wanted you to be, and you laid them to rest here. You marked each with a simple granite headstone stating what was left behind. Words such as weak, ugly, worthless, selfish, miserable, useless are engraved on the stones to show what you never were, but others had you believing of yourself. These markers stretch for miles. You left these parts of you to lie and fade away as you chose to ignore them and turn toward the truth, thus creating a cemetery of misconceptions. Misconceptions others believed about you, misconceptions you believed about you, misconceptions. These discarded pieces have long since been laid to rest and are barely visible now. A piece of granite just above the gladiolus, the flowers are taking over the landscape, thriving on the nutrients of the decaying misconceptions. They are hope and healing personified, a visual representation of the beauty within a person that you have always been. Your hand shuts the hard iron gate of the cemetery of all that you are not, and as the sun shines brightly upon you, you notice the gladiolus have grown along the path leading towards self-acceptance. The next piece I want to read is called Stained Glass. Stained glass, through color and light, takes what was previously broken into pieces and makes it whole again. Forming a masterpiece of art, a history depicting past trauma rearranged into a glorious mosaic of contrast and held together by hardened lead. Its beauty unquestioned with those who witness it being struck awe. Therefore, it is okay to be broken. Your pieces being reassembled into a stained glass mosaic depicting your life, detailing your personal journey, showing your strength through the jagged pieces that you now hold together through sheer will, highlighting the cracks that tried and did break you, but you refused to stay broken, so you melded them back together. You too became a work of art, a stained glass mosaic to inspire others. Bear with me, I just wrote this one. It's a little messy. I'm calling it Dry Drowning, although I'm not sure that title is going to stick. Inside of you, a wall, carefully crafted brick by brick, cemented through grief, anguish, hardships, life experiences you were taught to lock away, pieces of yourself that you felt you needed to hide. Precision placement to wall off these hard-to-feel feelings. Cutting the vulnerable parts of you off from the rest of you, meant to ensure no one sees the hurt and the pain. Tortured through years of suffering and living. You call it protecting yourself. The reality being you're suffocating your empathetic side. Because behind the wall, a tidal wave of uncried tears, outward signs you deemed showed weakness instead of the tenacity to keep going that they really were. Your will to push beyond the hard moments manifested in tear streaks down your face as the wall begins to buckle, allowing you to cry the tears before you drown from holding them inside. The next one I'm doing is called Making Excuses. When I'm disappointed, I make an excuse, but not for myself, for the other person. Generally unaware that I've done this for them, they're forgiven without an apology, never knowing the sting of disappointment continuing on as if nothing happened. If an apology were to be issued, their forgiveness is already guaranteed. My mind has already made every excuse for them. I already know they overslept, had a family emergency, got tied up at work, got tied up by ninjas, tied up in the whimsy and fantasy of a good book. It doesn't matter. The excuse has been made for them, for this or that. But never an excuse for I forgot. Because I forgot means I wasn't worth remembering, and there's no excuse for that. So now I'm going to do just a little fun one. Today I got to carve a pumpkin for the first time, and it was so much fun. I know, 33 years and I'm just carving pumpkins.
And your very first one?
My very first one.
Wow, that is awesome.
Right? It was great, right? It's adorable. It's sitting on my front porch. If y'all want to see it, I think it's a masterpiece. It's probably not.
My grandma used to have us carve pumpkins, and child was the perfect time to give a child a knife.
I will say we had a 5-year-old with us today, and we did not hand her the knife. We did not. We gave her little like stabby things to like stab in and make the pumpkin into like a witch and stuff. And she was happy as could be. And a Sharpie marker for her was as good as a knife for me. It was great. So I am obsessed with Halloween, and this is just a fun little piece I wrote about being obsessed with Halloween, and then today carving pumpkins. Carving pumpkins. Sitting around a folding table on the carport that was once a saloon, complete with town drunk, ladies of the night, and a Mexican bandito, or a church marrying the Lady of the Lake to Dracula, entire scenes were constructed on dead-end Debbie Lane. A love for Halloween cemented early in childhood. Today, knives carve not just pumpkins, but memories of family together, slicing laughter and love into our hearts. Traditions changed, but the memory is just as important. And again, a love for Halloween instilled in the 5-year-old who believes she truly is a pumpkin. Birthday, and after we carved pumpkins, she literally ran through the house screaming, "I'm a pumpkin, I'm a pumpkin!" It was the cutest thing ever. But man, do 5-year-olds have way too much energy. This 33-year-old was like, "Simmer down." But it was a good time, and I really enjoyed it, and I like that I got to carve a pumpkin. How many millennials do I have in the room with me?
Barely.
Oh boy, there's not a lot of us, but we're strong. Okay.
No way in hell.
Okay. This is called #struggling millennial. I'm just a #struggling millennial trying to make it impulse buying my way through depressive episodes because #YOLO. But YOLO isn't just a phrase for us because fuck it if we want to ride this roller coaster more than once. Living through historical event after historical event, we're numb, and that's okay. Because our default from birth was numb, and every day we've tried to spin the dial to feel other emotions. The older generations might call us lazy, but they mistake lazy for tired. We are tired of trying to survive in a world that is no longer designed for the white picket fence dream. Asterisk, that's nothing against you older generation. I love you all.
We are not offended.
No,
It's okay to be angry.
Yeah, let that emotion.
We're not angry, John. We're tired. We're tired.
I'm both.
We
People
can be both. though.
I can
I'm
do
mostly
both.
angry.
I can do both.
Okay. You take angry, I'll take tired, and Julianne will be in the middle of us,
I'm
and
the
you can
Venn
have
diagram.
whichever one you want.
All right. Yeah.
All right. As long as you root for the Blues.
Yes. She got the cutest Blues jersey for her birthday today. I was so
Amazing.
sorry. I'll try. The next one I'm going to read is called Death is Final, but the awareness is not. So I'm taking you back into the deeper stuff. Death is final, bringing to everything an end. An end to life, an end of possibilities, an end of the see you laters, let's do this again, an end of a shadow over everything. A shadow of awareness that exploration. Understanding this awareness can infuse moments with significance. It can allow a life to be well spent as long as loss end. Here. Alright, I got two more that I'm going to share. I've never read this one in public because it is for my friend who out there. But we had our own kind of relationship where we like to tease each other. She would show up in my office with a bazooka bounty, doorway, on the phone at work. It was great. And I made the mistake one day, and a Mexican restaurant who I thought looked like Usher. And I tell her, I'm like, he looks like Usher. And she goes, not all black guys look like Usher, Caitlin. And I'm like, no, they don't. I didn't say that. That guy over there looks like Usher, okay? And so that became a running joke between us. And she was like, every time she saw me, we then did Peace Up, A-Town Down. That became our thing. So this piece is called Peace Up, A-Town Down for Jazz from Mookie. Me, whole other story. Don't let her shyness fool you. She will dance bomb your door, draw finger guns and rowdy bazookas, and call you on your shit. But not tell a waiter that she doesn't like Brussels sprouts. Sit in furious breath. Rile her up and watch the fire rage. Her white-hot intensity will have her wanting to murder for your sake. Her fierce loyalty will always be in your corner, but make sure to encourage those same be utilized for her own self-interest. Her words can easily give you a reality check, but can encourage and embolden and make you laugh and be a soothing balm on your darkest days. When she's accepted you into her squad, you will receive never-dying nicknames, such as Mookie, and secret hand signals, inspired by the slightest of interactions. Once you have that, know this. She will leave you eventually to follow her passions, but never far enough that you can't find her again when needed. I miss that girl every day, and she sent me a custom ringtone the other day. It's Usher's Yeah, but it's cats singing it. And I was like, yeah, this is it.
So was it Usher at the Mexican restaurant?
It was not.
Ah.
But she did finally admit, she goes, yeah, he does kind of look like Usher. I'm like, yeah, you're giving me shit for it. Anyway, the last piece I want to share with you is called Unsolicited Advice. Y'all didn't solicit it, but I'm giving it to you anyway, so listen. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to be broken. It's okay to need a break. Put yourself first. It is not okay to give up.
Caitlin, you know that Usher's currently caught up in the whole P. Diddy
I do
scandal
know,
thing.
I know.
So he may have washing dishes at the Mexican restaurant very soon.
Yeah.
There's that.
New catchphrase.
You can ask him for some more chips and salsa. Usher will come to your table. But
I'm okay with that.
yeah, there it is. So with that, I'm going to welcome up a good friend of mine who's here from Indiana. I actually fully intend on reading one of my own poems for him. I wrote about a little conversation we had, but I'm going to have him come up first, and that's Mr. Jonathan Baker. See, I'm not going to use that S in everything. I refuse.
You refuse. There's a whole series of memes about this, bro.
But your mustache is looking fantastic today, so there's that.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I'm perfecting it. There we go. The first poem I'm going to read was just in Riverdog, the zine Riverdog, and here we go. Reincarnation. I'm trying to live the best life for myself, and if you don't like it, I'll try to do better next time. I will remember Samantha expects me to be available for phone calls. When I am an ant crawling on the forest floor, just one of a million ants walking in a row, I will keep it in mind that if Samantha calls, I must drop this leaf and answer my phone. I'm sorry I couldn't always take your calls this time around. I should not allow for my family and my work to come between myself and your spoken truth. Know when I have moved on to a new body and existence, before even the queen of the colony, you will come first. I will try to do better next time. I will remember that David needs special consideration. He feels he needs a little more credit given to him for things I have done. So when I find myself as an invertebrate with translucent skin and no name given by humans floating on a warm thermal current near volcanic flows at the bottom of the ocean, just doing what I can to avoid predators, I will remember that simply saying thank you to David is just not enough, and I should do more. I should bow before him, kiss his ring, and praise his name. David! I will try to do better next time. I will remember that simply my continuing being bothers my neighbor Richard. When I am lichen on a rock somewhere in Denali, I will understand the hours I kept, the people that came and went from my home are just not up to Richard's high standards. I let my grass grow too high. I will keep that in mind whatever Richard imagines happens behind the closed doors of my home aggravates him infinitely. So in the next life, when I'm a dull sheep, when a dull sheep is licking at the scum that I am, consuming me for nutrients in those harsh environs, I will do what most approximates self-reflection for a complex life form made up of both a fungus and an algae. I will try to realize that this is what is best for Richard. I deserve this. After endless rebirth, so constructive criticisms again and again on a loop in my mind, perhaps I will be released from this existence entirely and finally reach nirvana, all thanks to you and your kind insights. Until then, I will try to do better next time. I had a book come out earlier this year with Tony Brewer called Centaur. Yeah. And when Tony reads from it, or at least every time I'm there, he reads one of my poems, so I'm going to read one of his. This is Sunshine is a Drug. My trees spike dirty skin to let tiny breaths out, quick gasps of centuries, little black lung spots. Nothing metaphors like mammals aware. Here the dark turn, the night not normal, but cover lovers weather. Everything happens broad, equally small, quiet night. The night, an alignment of souls resting atop souls in perfected silhouette, all burning, yet the heat feels cold. It's moving, always moving, stop, unimaginable, all the garbage, all the nukes, and love and sensitivity fit infinitely into it. The insatiable furnace of you, destined to burn and built to someday, beyond all death, wink out like a goddamn nod-off quit. And here's one of mine from the same book. This is SPE. Exaggerated art of desire in full living color, glorious, beautiful degenerates, sequined, tucked, and painted, tactless, crass piece of hot drag ass on the main stage under the smoker's awning, a taboo kiss as she watches from behind the curtain. It felt just as right as every other first kiss. This is a poem that I had in Seppuku issue 5, put out by Joe Fulkerson. Yellow. Filmed walls, flushed bowels, crusted bowl, sick water, flop sweat, limp tissue, paper thin cowardice, shriveled psychosis, cum drivel, shamed. Van Gogh paints my bath. And another poem from a Joe Fulkerson book. This is linked verse. Labyrinthian Love. I had a dream that Minoan Queen Pasiphae fell in love with Red Rock, lusting over that red tiger-striped brindle body built to buck. She watched adoringly as he gored and devoured, right down to the boots, 309 dumb cowboy fucks. Lane Frost swaggered in, Pasiphae let slip a moan. He threw that leg up to mount the bull. A river flowed. Frost fell 1, 2, 3 times. Clowns rushing to save his hide. An old cow hand stood in corner, hat in hand. Hard for 9.73 seconds. He hopped off and went to meet his death in Cheyenne. Pasiphae and Red Rock climbed into bed to lay. I woke up lost and amazed. Day trip. 3/3/24. Crisp brown grass, dog toy scraps, and cigarette butts surround me. I am relaxed, so are my standards. My harshest critic is silent. Inside, a gummy bear sits on top of my. I've been petting the dog this afternoon. The uneven spots in the yard are rolling like the ocean. The sun is unseasonably warm behind my heavy eyelids. She checks on me, that I am happy and breathing, and I am. I am fine. I am fighting to stay awake, falling asleep or passing out, or full on dying, I'm not sure which. None of that scares me, but I am. Neighbors might call the cops about the unresponsive body laying slack across the glider, and my will be interrupted. Thank you, everybody. I'll just read, I'm going to read 2 more. way to the great egress. I tell my artist friends they need art, just the same as food or oxygen or the feel of skin warm and welcoming against our own. That's just the bananadine talking, a coping mechanism, courtesy of Pierre Bassau, self-importance, self-medication, the gift of grift, just a temporary salvo for the pain of existence, the ache from treading water, hoping to be saved by schools of Fiji mermaids before currents pull us under. There are escape tunnels on rock walls, masterpieces painted by Coyote, distractions from systems we uphold like Atlas, or maybe more like Sisyphus. Everybody complains about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. I'm going to read this one. Something you said last night reminded me of this, so here we go. One day, heartbreak will feel as far from now as does the dawn of all creation. There's a bone fragment on the shelf, and the story of how it got there is as beautiful as it is awful. I promise I'm not an amnesiac shuffling through the halls, clutching onto rediscovered bits of memory, missed by... Oh.
There it is.
Oh my God, I hate this. Rediscovered bits of memory missed by the purge of evidence of a day not quite as bad as I remembered. To the uninitiated, apathy and indifference can mimic desperate longing, but I promise I'm not sentimental, just tired. Indigenous here crafting cargo cults in which hairpins hold significance. There's an unused room in the basement filled with someone's belongings held in storage. It expends less energy to ignore it than to dispose of it. Some might think it's a shrine, but I promise you that is no faith of mine. I'm not that superstitious, just a lifelong atheist. I only have an academic affinity for ancient artifacts. Haha, this is how that stupid primitive explained the warmth of sunshine, or how the moon came and went. And that ain't me. I let the things go and they fell in heaps, but they're free to go. Go on and leave. Go on now. Find a new home.
Thank you, John. I wanted to read this little poem that I wrote for Jonathan. We were in a talk one day about Edgar Allan Poe. I don't even remember how we got there.
Because they share a birthday with me.
Yeah, and I told you you were the love child of Dolly Parton and Edgar Allan Poe. So I wrote this little poem for you. It's like all of 4 lines. It's called On Being the Love Child of Dolly Parton and Edgar Allan Poe. I actually read this in Toledo and people loved it. So. Being the love child of Dolly Parton and Edgar Allan Poe may well get you stabbed in a bar parking lot, but it also makes you the best looking man in Evansville, Indiana. and that sort is for you. So. But I'm going to read a few poems. I recently put out this book with my friend Kevin Ridgway. And it's called The Sacred Millennial Burial Ground. Because I don't care for millennials for the most part. So I called it that. And, I can't blame Kevin because he himself, I think Kevin is a millennial. So he's just a team player. And so this book was a great experience, but the best thing I've done this year, and I couldn't have anticipated it. And so I wrote this poem for my friend Mike James, who some of you might know. He read down here a few years ago. He died of cancer in December of last year. And when Mike and I would hang out, we usually would get drunk on really cheap wine and play horseshoes. And so he was, and Mike in his other life was the vice president of Nissan. So he was a man with many compartmentalized lives, but I wrote this for him. It's called Horseshoes and Red Wine. Every time we got together, we argued about Ezra Pound. And if you were here now, I would still tell you that he was as boring as a dense fog. But contrary to popular belief, it's the dead who have the last word. I can still see you sitting there at the local fair, laughing as they announce the winner of the greased pig race, drinking cheap red wine, your heart as big as a hay bale. And that's what matters, not words flung like horseshoes that never seem to reach their intended targets. Just you sitting there patiently with Dan up 3 days, off his meds again, talking about how he was never going to write poems while you squeezed his hand. In Arizona, that's actually about the Cape Girardeau Fair, because we would go visit my friend Dan Crocker in Cape Girardeau. Dan is also a treasure who, as far as I know, is alive and well. I don't know about the well part, but he's still here on the earth. I'm going to read like 2 more poems, and this poem I wrote for Damian Rucci. It's going to be in the Moon anthology that Jason is putting together. And I wrote it the day after, or maybe the day of, the eclipse that we had just recently, because I could sneak the moon references into there. This is called When the Eclipse Was Every Day. I can't expect you to know what it felt like to play kickball under the moonlit Pennsylvania sky in 1986, when the magic of the wind was just something we felt in our bones, when we called our God Houdini, when we found love in shopping malls and video arcades that had sprung up like temples under the sky's infinite grace, when we waited for Halley's Comet, listening with our ears to the ground, as if cupping seashells on dry land. I can't expect you to know all that the moon was once a hopeful thing, and that now I shake at night instead of sleeping soundly, because sleep is for the young and those unemployed by constant worry. Now I pace back and forth, sweeping up moon dust in non-existent dreams, and have nowhere to put it all. But I'll tell you, when you run out of hope, you'll look up at the sky with wonder and see a boy in your reflection, and you will miss it. Actually, I'll read 2 poems. I've got one from my friend Neely Tchaikovsky. When did Neely pass, Victor? How long has that been? Was that the spring?
This year. This spring? Yeah, I think it was.
It was this year.
It was this year.
Yeah. But okay, I'll finish with these. This is a poem for him. It's called Posterity is a Dead Horse. The day is almost over. The sky is fat and gray. Heaven was once a newborn baby suspended in the trees just above the earth. With you gone, who will sing to Whitman's wild children? They are just orphans now, rocking back and forth alone. They are birthdays. They are invisible, motherless acts of fruitless creation. A fatherless dream on no sleep, where the waves keep crashing and a heart monitor goes silent as birds chirp, filling empty hospital rooms with music. Dead rooms full of unnamed children who came here looking for answers in another life. And I sort of wrote this when I was writing the Eclipse poem. This is a piece called In a Dream Where You Have One Eye. They told you this would become your new normal, but not that it would change your dreams. Birds with one wing, a beautiful girl with a lopsided head, anything to make yourself feel average. Half as much rain, twice as much love for little things, big noises that unfold into minor tragedies. You listen to the sound of thunder while sitting on the toilet half asleep. You imagine a childhood that seemed almost mundane, but it all led you here, where you realize that you don't have a flashlight or anything to put out a fire. You start coughing and reach for a glass of water. You remember your grandmother had rose bushes. You search for her in the storm you imagine every night. Cool air running its fingers along your skin. The sun always hiding half its face under a warm pillow, never offering a torch in the darkness, so you don't even blink. You don't want to miss anything. If anyone's going to buy anything, buy stuff from the other people that got in the car and came here to be here with you today. But I do have copies of this with me, but I'm not hard trying to sell it. Just, if you're going to spend money, give it to these other fine folks out here. So with that, I am going to call up a good friend of mine who I feel seriously fortunate that he is here with us today. The last 2 years have been in particular been a motherfucker. So it's wonderful to have him with us. It warms my heart. And that's my friend Ken Gierke. Ken, it's so good to see you.
Thank you, John. I'm loving everything I've heard today. Two things which are probably one. I've been cold as hell for 4 days since I came home. I layered long sleeves and forgot how warm it gets in here. And the other, I'll try to project. I don't know how well that'll work. So, before I get into my own poetry, I'm going to read someone else. Rick Christensen. And St. Louis, his fiance and now his wife, so this commute thing, and I really identify with it. Interstate, Highway 70, cascading like the river, taking us all home. Cross the Missouri again and again, winding, looking at each shore. Now, soybean, always adjacent, Monsanto rules. Valley, rapid change, finding your own haven. Beer, bait, bullets, Holy Trinity sail. What more is needed? Billboards. 2 coasts this state, no ocean on either shore, yet still an island. So that's Rick Christensen. All right, I'm going to read a poem that sort of summarizes my last 3 weeks in the hospital, and it's not quite as grim as the title. Paul Bearer. Should I damn you, unnamed curse wielder, that you have chosen this time to burden this simple age bearer? Though the years ahead grow shorter, my health burden has not weighed so heavy as to cast a pall upon my prospects. Yet, one blow from you, a health strike from out of the blue, has dimmed my view of what awaits me. Perhaps this is just one more life chapter, one that, once it passes, will serve to remind me of the power of your life grasp. Thank you. All right, I'm going to read some poems from both of my collections. First off, Glass Awash, which both, there are copies over there if you're interested. Both from Spartan Press. Glass Awash, this is beach glass. I'm from Western New York, and I used to go to Lake Ontario all the time and sift gravel for beach glass. I've got gallons of it. All right, Vantage, which this poem actually fits in a certain current situation. The cold iron that anchors me to my years, I bear without regret. Though it has compounded through mishap, trial, and grief, I yield not to that weight. That experience has brought me here. I embrace it as my own. Thank you. Elusive. Wary of your touch, it will recede, parting like a fog, revealing nothing. What is enlightenment when what you seek is the very of the haze? Gently gathering what you can, draw it into you. You are wary now, knowing that to smother it will lead to loss. As an early morning dew would embrace the gossamer of a delicate web, you feel its texture, searching for reason, signs of truth. It flees as you wake, and you wonder just what it was you held. Stray thoughts, lost to sleep, never reach the page, nor fall on any ear. And the love commute. So before I moved here in 2012 to be with Bonnie, we would travel back and forth to see each other, and there were a lot of Skype sessions. The intent of moonlight and ethereal synapses. A haze struggles to dim a light traveling the distance that binds two bodies. Our growing world of disconnect, challenged by invisible connections. Clouds shift, strain to cast shadows, oblivious to the aura framing them. Different wavelengths of light, thoughts conflicting, gelling. Powerless to impede, branches sway their hips to its pull. The flow from one chamber to the next, echoing tidal forces, defying the disconnect, absorbing those wavelengths in a way not imagined, but realized. The embrace of affirmation, a kiss. So that's I have two poems about coming here to Belle to hear poetry. When we started coming here a couple of years ago, there was a bridge out on 89, so there was a detour on Highway A. It's a hairy road, especially at night. Highway A. One curve on a road, it is nothing but curves that crests before they drop into the next. Miss that curve, and airborne becomes a fact. Think about the poems you'll never write. Hug that curve to arrive in Belle. Breathe poetry that twists as it rises and falls. Into a community that knows with the right people can be home. That road at night, the poetry of the evening, winding around each blind curve, taking you home. And I'm going to read one of my random riffs. They're poems that I started out by writing while I was driving, things I'm seeing, music I'm hearing, or later on music that works well with it, but some of them was pretty amazing. So, and this is about driving here. and it is jazz influenced. Cristo Redentor. A haunting chorale laced with sonorous chords leads me through winding hills to deliver me into the narrow valley that holds Westphalia, where a church spire high on a hill rises from surrounding trees to be seen by all who pass on the highway below, both wayward and devout. As I leave that steeple behind, Donald Byrd's trumpet, slow and almost sultry, moves in, dances with those voices, and Duke Pearson's piano teases, seems to offer a revelation. Rich Fountain lies just down the road, waits to follow suit. Its church, again, totally obscured above me, save the lines of its spire rising above the trees. When the road from there opens to a wide valley, I almost expect to see Sugarloaf Mountain on the horizon, the arms of Christ the Redeemer open wide, expecting me to come home. Once baptized, that boat long since capsized. I still know all the rituals, mouth the words at weddings and funerals, though I know they'll never be uttered at mine. As if knowing that ship had sailed, trumpet, piano, and chorale fade into the distance as I head down the road to Belle. Thank you.
Ken, I was trying to remember the other day what year that was and how long you guys have been coming.
2.5 years ago. It was in March or April, whenever you started up after winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't quite recall.
Yeah. Okay. And Heron Spirit, the title coming from the fact that many of the poems have a heron in them. Fresh air to walk during a pandemic. A light rain that would not touch me was followed by sunlight that surrounded me from a respectful distance. Pollen seemed deferential. Skirting the edge of the trail with shared concern, passing hikers offered a simple hello. Birds treated it like any other day. Their distance a product of instinct, mine a matter of discretion. A fox watched warily from grass taller than most of us, as if to acknowledge we never really meet face to face. Cedar branches swayed in the breeze, flinging leftover rain droplets, a reminder that things could be normal again. The same, but different, when different means an awareness of droplets, and we find new ways to mask our concerns. Two of those Heron poems. We got married at the lighthouse, next to the lighthouse in Erie, Pennsylvania, Presque Isle. And our good friend Dave was going to give Bonnie away, but he passed away a couple months before. Ardea Herodias. On the outside, a giant bear lumbering and gruff, quartered to no man. Inside, a heron on one leg, feathers ruffled by the wind, feeling fragile. Though gone, always present, your heron spirit, never to be forgotten. And heron spirit. 3 days past solstice, waves beckon joy, vows spoken, lakeshore poetry, solemn spirit presence, shared love, past and present. Great blue heron lands, watches from the shore. Always. Always in our hearts. All right, and the last poem I'm going to read is Crossing Rivers. Niagara River flows in my blood. I lived there for almost 60 years, and scuba diving, boating, kayaking, sitting on the shore, writing poetry, biking alongside. crossing rivers. Beneath a March sky, bundled in my mother's arms, wrapped in the thunder of the dawn's light on the shore might float beside others, drifts in the current, bobbing with each nibble. Sunlight diffused at depth, weightless, suspended freedom in each breath, bubbles cradled by the current. Beside those towering falls, camera in my hand captures the light held by the deafening roar. Heights within the gorge below the cataract, recording water so blue, pounding, rushing, flowing to the lake and its glass-pebbled shore. A bridge of light fading in the night as it recedes in my view mirror, the river still vivid in memory. Another river crossed, highway of the heartland, massive in its breath as I enter a new life. My kayak floats on the big muddy and the murky waters feeding it. Eagles overhead, little consolation for Niagara's blue grandeur.
Ken, I'm just so glad you're with us. You win the MVP award today at Baldinger. I had a guy cancel on me because he had tickets to a Marcy Playground concert. So I've got 2 more people, I think, up on this feature list, and I'm looking on because things kind of happen here. But what I'm going to say before I bring this next gentleman up is we're going to close out the feature part of this with my friend Victor Clevenger at the end because for several months Victor and Jason and I have all been working on putting together this very large collection of Victor's work, which is a great milestone. 450 pages of poetry going back many years, and so it's here with us today. And this event is sort of like functioning as the launch for that book. We're super proud of it. I've done a few of those large brick books myself, and it's no easy feat. And so Victor, we're proud of you, man. Super proud of you. Before we get to Victor, I'm going to welcome up this next gentleman who's a good friend of mine, and I have to freely admit, I have tunnel vision up here, and I almost forgot that he was reading, even though we were sitting together earlier today. So, note to self, do not give me any drugs, because this is what happens. All right. So with that, I'm just going to welcome up my friend Jason Baldinger. Jason.
His shirt is relevant. Keep it in mind for a second. Just one more second.
My glory hole shirt?
Your glory hole shirt, yes.
The best bar in the state of Missouri.
Well, you're about to hear about it whenever I open this fucking book up. Hi, I'm from Pittsburgh. So, this first poem is called The Glory Hole, because 7.5 years ago, John Dorsey and I found a glory hole. Oh wait, no, not that way, shit. Let me read you the poem. Get down, please. The Glory Hole. At the intersection of the road to Climax Springs and the road to Hurricane Deck, we spy the glory hole. Although in here, we recognize every mention of the word glory hole as ceiling fans swirl smoke. 2 1/4 gets you a Bud Light Draft Frost. 20 an hour will get your boat a designated driver. Cigarettes burn in an ashtray for the better part of a millennium, and one man, overjoyed at being drunk, plays a Dropkick Murphys song and insists We all sing along. He pumps his fist as a prompt to the bar as the chorus comes in. Kiss me! I'm shitface!
You know, when this is over, we're all going to adjourn to the glory hall.
All right, I think it's an hour and a half away.
Yeah, there it is.
Give or take. Just in 1974. We were rambunctious in the shadow of the First World War, finding the Midwest smaller after the lights and destruction of Europe. And maybe it was the Depression, our sons following in our footsteps years later that took it out of us. Maybe it was just living. Now it's static. White noise daily on the Kansas horizon, waiting out our ends in a 56 Ford pickup, AM radio broken on the same fucking country station. We see each other in the diners in the morning, 3 eggs over, easy, bacon, coffee, and toast, piling on before the day and its chores take over, saying the same damn things. Another dusty western wind saddled up for breakfast in 1974. American Aorta. I had a set list somewhere. I think I've already lost it. Who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. This is called the era of poorly shod. A crown of thorns and a red roof parking lot in Tom Raper country leaves the faithful stranded in dusk. A good blacksmith is hard to find. And this is the era of poorly shod, of lame horses and forgotten Saint Mosaics. Also, grande margaritas, they're all relics to be cast aside with ease. She calls me amigo like 14 months have been kept under glass, hermetically sealed against a rigorous sense of time. And there are no work crews here tonight to exchange disillusionment for cerveza, no hymns sung by the high and 100-proof choir. I sit among TVs and watch slushy machines whirl. The White River and light rain sound the same no matter the month. In parking lot lights, swarms of wings beat, intermingle in halogen rainbows. Another lonely melody telegraphed across this sweet night. It sounds like Hoagie Carmichael's Stardust. And then the tequila kicks in, and my teeth sound like Charlie Patton's guitar. I did a gallery show here at OAC for this book on Lazarus. A year later, we have another book of photography with poems by Albany poet Becky Schmeda. It's called Hope is a Prison. It's a very harrowing book. Women discussing abuse. Ooh, yes. So I'm going to read you a poem called Last Rites. This is her poem and my photo, which is a Bible on an abandoned rostrum in a prison chapel. All right, Last Rites. The last time I heard my father's voice was when my grandmother was transitioning in hospice. We were gathered around her bed saying our goodbyes when her son called collect from prison to encourage her to ask for the Lord's forgiveness. While death rattled in her throat, I looked out the window, a stray cat battered around a bluebird. My grandmother dismissed religion long before I was born, but kept a crucifix in her nightstand drawer. She had a stray cat husband who held my father like a feather between his teeth. She looked out the same window, then at me as my father yammered on about redemption. Or maybe she didn't look out the window. Maybe I just wanted her to. The last time she spoke directly to me was the day before her son was sentenced. Just tell the truth. That he didn't really hurt you. She begged, just tell the truth. All right, more photos and broadside cards and whatnot. If you buy anything from me, I'll give you one of these. These are 8 haikus fashioned from the day after Elvis's death, an article in the Nashville Tennessean. So they're all blackout poems fashioned into haikus. Base you on an article about Elvis's death. Quick poem. Very quick because it's a fucking haiku. Which one was I going to read? This one. Rhythm and blues shook the hammer. It's your turn. A Victor Clevenger poem? Well, a poem with Victor Clevenger in it, I guess. I'm having a hard time, I guess, deciding how to introduce these. Oh well, whatever. Hard time on us. 3 Confederate skeletons molder through a dogwood night. 2nd Avenue lights shine from downtown oasis past where motels go to pasture and green corn begins its rise. 3 Confederate skeletons, gray hair growing down the backs of Kiss tees, baggy jeans printed with Ohio River mud. They double time it back to camp past the Cadillac Motel and Halfway House. Mutton warms on the fire, graybacks burning in their pocket, old Jeff Davis's eyes wide after a taste. Sure fucking thing, the South will rise again. 3 Confederate skeletons pass, the woman at the liquor store stashes moonshine pipes as Victor, announced by doorbell, asks for a bottle of wine. She looks at him with hard time eyes. Honey, I don't know a goddamn thing about no wine. It has been a rough couple years. I've lost a lot of friends. This is an old friend who used to run a record store. It's a poem for him called The Time Capsule of Dust. Nefertiti smiles. Miles Davis stares stage left through matte black wood bins in a Spartan store, in a depressed town, church spires through windows and an always vacant stage. This is the time capsule of dust, forgotten side street where stock is stale and still, where LPs are albatross, new formats bring abandon. I come weekly, skip slow grays, imagine sounds from covers, liner notes conjuring in my brain, slowly eating inventory, slowly building vocabulary. $6 is a princely sum by mid-90s standards, but a small price for fraternity. And maybe that's what I didn't know I was buying. At the counter, a big man, basso Buddha with diabetes, gruff voice wrestler expounds from the stacks of a library mind. He always has some insignificant minutia that leads to a dead afternoon conversation. I'm picking his brain, expanding beyond my ears. As I said, it's about building vocabulary. Years later, I would run into him in another record store, our roles reversed, and I would remind him of those afternoons lost, how they led me here to my own library mind. As I said, it's about fraternity. There is a clumsy grace in the moments we find ourselves, chrysalis and seed pods blowing in breezes around creeks named Connoquenessant, traffic flowing past formative, forgotten spaces. Still, sometimes there are no words for our shepherds, those people who cling at the outskirts with the tenacity of ghosts. Two from my phone.
Just stop now.
Apparently, yeah, that's just a good idea.
It's the jet lag.
It's probably. I've been in the car for a few days, as always. A People's History of Williamson, West Virginia. We could have gone to the prom with the Cole House girls. Crushed red velvet dresses, Keller drawn in humidity. They wait for dreams and corsages to die like Romeo and Juliet. Instead, we holed up in a burned out department store, rechristened bookshop, sifting boxes of 10 cents black and white photos. A People's History of Williamson, West Virginia, flowing as Remainder flipbook. Camera flash illuminates moments, heads crane above the surface, a new used car sitting in pea gravel under a pawpaw. The sun shining off the canal as she sat neatly on a picnic bench. Smoking uncles, messy rubber-legged toddlers, beehived ants, gaunt gaunt Halloween witches, Coal-black-faced miners carrying lunches and gunny sacks, not one graduation in sight, no one ever actually smiling, only distance-reddened eyes focused on the ledge of another mountain range. These boxes never rescued. Sepia, acid-stained, or rusted pipe-washed 8 lanes of train tracks that led out of town, now left to oxidize. Burnt sienna memories, Keller-faded ghosts, haunt photo paper alone. I wrote 2 poems this morning. I think this is actually okay. It's called Champagne, which was a beer brewed in Indiana. 200,000 gallons of champagne velvet, a waterfall, a boom that fills tunnels to the Wabash with steam and horses, men and animals built as machines in an underground maze catacomb, the steam heat of centuries captured where cow towns meet the Rust Belt. That steak, sliced free, bleeds across my plate, washed down, champagne velvet and classy as the woman behind me, loud as the Peterbilt queen of nowhere, tells the tattooed potato man in bib overalls that she has finally had enough, that she is finally leaving him. And you can hear the strain across her voice as he says, "You don't know how long I've waited to hear you say that." He says it, and they walk out into the seedy remains, the prosperity and promise of steam faded when the catacombs closed. The Wabash River flows, white limestone and muscle memory. Two more for you. Let's do this one first. As I said, we've lost a lot of folks. This is for the short form haiku poet Bart Solarczyk. It's called Haiku for Bart Solarczyk from the day he died. It's a long journey, brother. Wind blown between beers. Crows guide the way. And this is called a Howard Johnson prayer. Nothing has a right being this beautiful. In the mighty exhale of crossing the heartland again, that chill that saturates post-Labor Day, the sun already a victim, but there are no stars in the watering hole with logos looming and billboards crowing and traffic blowing past headlights through honeycomb and the interstate just close enough to hear it whinny at the horizon. Another outlaw moment, flat earth and floodplain, 250 miles and 25 milligrams, waiting on the corn stalks to colonize these temples. Cold blue water steals as it reinforces this essence. I float on dreams that stretch middle Mississippi to Machu Picchu. I float a black and white dream. Memory of a dark sky, meditation. Thank you all so much. Oh, thank you there, brother. Oh, hey, there's that set list I forgot about.
We were, a number of years ago, we were all drunk, and we had another guy just yelling at Jason. He was like, "Come on, Pittsburgh!
Drink up, Pittsburgh! Come on! You're known for drinking hard. But drink up, Pittsburgh!"
But then he brought us $60 worth of fried chicken. You can't argue with a man like that. So, one of my main reasons for being here today, other than I like a sense of community, as I was saying, was to help promote this book of Victor's. It's called Every Angel in Heaven is a Hopscotch Champion. It's around 430 pages or so. And so, like, if you don't want to own 10 Victor Clevenger books, now you can own one. And there it is. And one of the wonderful things for me too is, like, when you're a poet and you travel, is to be able to condense all of those books into one book. So if you're going up those terrible steps at the Rollin Public House, you only have to carry one book with you instead of 10, and it's fantastic. And so we're to celebrate this book. If you don't have the money to buy the book after Victor just be supportive in some way. Like a lot of times I go somewhere and people, like, they're freaky to talk to you. So it's always nice to have people come up to you. So I'm just going to welcome up my very, very, very good friend, Victor Clevenger, to regale you with some poems from this excellent book.
Yeah, like John said, it's so great to have so much work combined. And this is just 2016 through 2020, so it doesn't have anything current. A huge shout out to John, because we started this early. I just started sending him tons of shit. Jason Propulsion, the actual photograph on the cover is Jason's. Blurred in there from Jonathan, so it's a huge collection of work from people that I love, and there's actually like 17 collections in here when you count chapbooks on that plus other stuff.
So you don't have to buy 17 books, so you can just get that.
Well, I can tell you that there's work in here that no one's going to get because it was only published in collections in Canada that went. So, like, you had to buy a whole set of 15, and like no one did that.
See,
No
now
one
you
did
can just
that.
get this book.
Now you got it in the book. All right, poem for Laura. Deep down inside, I was secretly prepared for the reality that our relationship was just another youngster romance. A couple of crazy kids in the late summer of 1996 listening to Cake and going the distance. Trying to hold a heart hostage. We ditch a back seat for a $79 room on the second floor, have sex with Law and Order playing in the background. All of those times listening to the secrets of how the cops catch them, you would have thought I'd been well schooled, a hardened criminal who knew not to rely solely on the promise of I love you as a restraining mechanism. Alright, so this is a poem for my daughters, my oldest two daughters. If you guys don't know, I got a shitload of kids, so.
Don't get too close.
Yeah, another kid was just conceived 5 seconds ago.
Poem for Carly and Cassie Clevenger. You are both fruit that has finally fallen and rolled a good distance away from your mother's tree. I'm sure that the orchards in your future will now be beautiful. Thank you. And I didn't drop my set list, but there's a fuck ton of pages in here, so I'm flipping trying to find. 86, all right, 30 years. One small foot leads the other in a race across childhood memories, slowly. A growing shadow casts around a corner, looking like a crooked smile, familiar. Gathered honeybees on the front porch screen makes a buzzing sound like hair clippers gliding through summer's growth. She squeezes wooden clothespins between the thumb and fingers, whistles the best as she can. When she's done, the lines sag under the weight. Let's go. Climb in. Make room. The devil went down to Georgia. His favorite song on the radio. Dashboard gauges useless, malfunction, but not a worry. A 79 Thunderbird with the windows cracked. We're going to Grandma's place. We were cruising at a speed of simplicity that will never be felt again. That was 30 years ago. I light another cigarette. Turn on Don Lemon. Tonight, I am aging in a world of madness, falling apart. And all of my fears are the glue sticking the skin to these bones. I'm in arts and crafts. Room to room, kissing my children goodnight. I wonder what they will remember 30 years from now on a Thursday in the month of April when the sun slides out of the sky and they're sitting all alone at their kitchen tables. An acquired taste. Now, Reggie tells me that when he was young, he saw a woman stick the head of a snake into her mouth and moan like she was having an orgasm. Says that when he sees a snake in the grass, he thinks about her and about how some things just really. Oh, editing a poem. This is one of the first times that I met JB. We was in Kansas City for one of the throwdowns. Yep. Editing a poem for Jason Baldinger. Heart soaked with 39th Street bustle, a table for 10 at Jazz, po' boys on plates, po' bodies in seats shooting shit. Cut the first 10, cut the last 4, make them vanish. Bermuda triangles on a tongue, tank 7 in veins, and hours later, you pulled the pins out of your words like they were grenades. As you marched the soldiers in the seats through the path of your ghost stardust residue on the brims of whiskey glasses, just for luck. It's just titled 5. She asked me if I still have a war brain. Our dirty fingers picking up garbage that 2 stray cats had scattered. A black one with a white face and an orange one with a short tail. She looked so damn mean with red cheeks and gritted teeth. She asked, "Do you think that you can kill them?" I remember listening to the radio transmissions working the overnight shift with Sybil. I remember holding on to her when the car bomb exploded next to the landing zone that morning in 2005. Now 20 minutes late for work already, and I hold an empty tuna can like it was a lover's hand. True story, and that was one of the most fucked up things, because over in Iraq, I don't know if you remember 2005 when the car bombs blew up the Iraqi police station where all the Iraqi, their recruits were. Like, our LZ was right on the other side of that. We just got off work. Literally, we were walking across the landing zone, her and I going back over to our house we were staying at whenever it dropped us to her, like, completely to the ground. So yeah, it was a fucked up moment. And this might be too, but this is Barnwood Desires. When I was a little boy, my nose was large. It was the size of a full-grown man's nose, and I hated my aunt's pig farm. One day, while working the shovel, I found a stash of magazines that were hidden under the dirty, dead and golden grass in the top loft of the barn. Every morning after breakfast, I'd run and climb the rotten peg steps of the ladder all the way to the top and thumb through the pages. I had never seen the inside of a woman's vagina before, and I had no clue that a picture could do what it did to my body. But before the end of the summer, I could sit up in that loft for hours with a heart on and not even smell the shit in the air from the fresh piles on the ground. One night, lightning struck the loft, and it all ended. Title 11. Dentist chair, 4 p.m. Needle pricks my mouth. In my head, it's Bukowski's Bluebird until the pain stops. The assistant asks, "You doing all right?" I let out, "But I don't weep, do you?" She has no clue what it's about, and I'm okay with that. Drying out. We were talking about a really fucked up trip we did to Chicago, and the reading, we did an echo chamber there, and this is one that we did at the echo chamber. So, drying out. 46 days ago, things were alive and beautiful. Fish swam like fish, frogs croaked like frogs do. but 46 days of drying and dying, and the fish just don't swim anymore, and the frogs don't croak quite the same. Window sash cracked, open air isn't even enough to stir about a good finger job as I suffer with her heavy legs draped over mine. Heat-induced lightning has become soft foreplay. It's a rough-colored golden flicker somewhere between the skin tone of a pumpkin and a thin slice of cheddar. Just get up, I tell her. I think that tonight is the night. And after an hour of sitting on the dirty front steps as the lightning points through the clouds, nothing gave. I'm going inside, I tell her. I'm going to sit naked and fan myself off with a magazine. I strip down, and I work a 2-month-old red book the best that I can. As she lies beside me, stretched marvelously, sucking wetness from a glass with a straw. Dry, hot, teased, and damned. I think only the long-bearded man who sells the snow cones on the street corner loves droughts like this, I tell her, and she agrees. What do we got next? 375. What is 375? The day before my 36th birthday. Okay. And between bites of a chicken and cheese quesadilla with black olives and pickled peppers, my 4-year-old daughter says, asshole. I keep chewing and ignore her. Asshole, she says. Tugging my arm and I nod my head, she gives one last hard tug at the shoulder and pulls my head down closer to hers, my ears at her lips. Poopy asshole. She says, and I swallow. I pat her on the head with my hand and send her to fetch her mother. She leaves the room. She returns with a warm dish towel just recently removed from the clothes dryer. I shove the last bite of quesadilla shell through my lips, chew it, swallow it, and wait. Asshole. Poopy asshole. I watch her swing the white but stained from spilled grape juice towel from side to side like a marching band's flag, and it twirls fast. It twirls and falls limp. Asshole, she says again. This time I smack the wooden tabletop with both of my hands like I remember seeing my own father do so many times before. My hands make a thud and I shout, enough! She shouts something mumbled and runs from the room crying. The dish towel lies on the floor as her mother walks into the room and says, do you always have to be such a goddamn asshole? Standing behind her is my daughter who wipes her eyes and grins while she peeks her head around her mother's right hip. I smack the table again for good measure and pick up my milk glass. I drink it and sit it down. The milk runs slowly down the sides from the brim. My daughter, last victorious, prances down the hallway, and I walk to the stove for a second helping of dinner. Thank you. Oh, now we're getting into some old shit. I'm a writer, not a fighter. And on the nights when my busted lips tint the ice cubes red, as she sits there for an hour letting the melted water run down her soft, cold fingers, I tell her, even superheroes take a few good punches, darling. Nobody can dodge them all. She always laughs kindly, then reminds me, sweetheart, I have yet to see you dodge one. The neighbors never sleep as well as they once did, but they still sleep. Her lips extinguish me when she grabs my shirt and spins me around. I exhale. But when she ignores me, I just stand there against two walls with my face pressed tight into the corner and let out screams with my bones on fire. There are some nights that I burn to death. Like I said, there's copies over there. So we're going to sell for $25. Normally they sell for $30. So $25 if you want a copy. And I'm going to end with one I've never ended with before.
Let me be cap this, Victor. Can you do electronic payments as well as cash? Do you have the capability?
Yeah, I can do PayPal. I can do them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I normally have a couple poems I end with, and I'm gonna do a new one because normally I don't have this in a collection, but it's in here. Once I find it, it's just a little poem, and I love it. I don't even know what prompted me to write it, but you'll see. All right. So the title, long as fuck. When the only woman that really loves you tries new things in bed just because she wants you to feel like she is continuously pleasing you. Letter. A finger in the asshole may be uncomfortable, but it's never been as uncomfortable as loneliness.
That's the exact opposite of loneliness. But, all right. So with that, we're going to take a little break. So people can go talk to Victor, pick up that book. There are other books up there. Like I was saying earlier, our next reading here will be Saturday, November 16th at 6 p.m. Be here if you can. If you want a reminder from me on that date, find me on Facebook where I live and breathe every day, and I will give you a reminder. And then after November 16th, we'll be here December 7th. And then I probably won't see you guys for a little while. But so with that, we're just gonna take a break, and then we'll come back up. And I know there's some open mic people that want to read, so we'll get those folks up to read. If you haven't put your name on this list and you want to read, please come sign it, because I'm not going to do it for you because I'm very tired. All right, thank you so much. We'll be right back with you.